Hello, keyboard people. How's it going? So, this is a super quick video to explain a very simple concept to a select few people. So, we are covering this. Now, a lot of people, notably streamers, have come out with frothing teeth trying to defend this keyboard, which, why are you trying to defend the piece of metal? But okay. Many people saying, I've built this wrong, mine doesn't shake, etc., etc. So, what I've got here is a second K. And it was through the second K that I was able to figure out why specifically some Ks shake and some Ks don't. So we're going to open this up, we're going to peek at the internals, and I'm going to show you the mechanics behind the K shake and what would make your K shake or not shake. Alrighty. Here we are. We have taken it apart. We have unscrewed the top from the bottom. And here we see why a lot of people would think, oh, Simon, you've built it wrong. Or whoever has built it wrong. The mounting system is a wee bit complex. And yeah. So if we look nice and close here, we see the basics. So we've got a piece of metal right there, and then the plate goes around that piece of metal, right? Top and bottom, right? Now, if we look at a fully built unit, we can see these pillars right here, right? And then the plate needs to land around these pillars. By default, that means that this piece of metal, essentially this hole, has to be bigger than this hole. Otherwise, it's not going to fit, right? So that's step one that everybody needs to know, is that the plate has a big hole, this has a small thing that goes in the hole. Therefore, there is space, right? That's the first concept. Now, if we look closely, and I'll give you guys the macro cam, you can see that there is movement. You see that? That is the movement of the plate. I mean, we can do it without the gasket. It makes it way easier to see. So I'm going to get the gasket out of place, right? And generally, you've got this sound here. So that is the big hole touching the small little peg, right? I'll show you guys on the macro cam. Right over here, you see that? See that movement? Every single K has this movement, right? Now, what prevents or helps the sound of this movement is essentially this gasket that will hold the plate in place. So that should reduce the sound. It won't completely eliminate it because, as we've covered, there is still a big hole and a small peg in the hole. So you see that? Still moving, even though the gasket is properly aligned. It's basic mechanics. So why does this happen? Or why does this not happen to you? So thing number one is, if you're using a polycarbonate plate or a lightweight plate, you probably won't notice because it takes a large amount of force, right, to make the K sound. It takes a decent amount of force, and having a heavier plate helps a lot because it propels it back and forth like this a lot more easily. The other thing is the gasket itself. So the gasket here is going around in HHKB. So that means the switch that should be here and the switch that should be here is not pulling the gasket. So the gasket is not as extended or stretched as it would be on a standard 60% layout. Now, I'll give you a good example of that right here with my secondary plate. So I've put in the 4 corner switches, and that gasket is tight. This gasket is significantly tighter, logically, than it would be if I moved this switch over here and this switch over here, right? So by tightening the gasket, you're making it even harder for the plate to be able to bounce back and forth. However, considering the basics of big hole, small peg, even on a standard 60%, given enough force, you can make this sound, but it may take a lot of force. Now, is this overall a bad thing? No, not at all. Like my Jane 2, just standard Jane 2 has that issue on its polycarbonate plate, and there are some keyboards that do shake. However, this video is to show everyone that the mechanic for the shaking exists in every single Kei, including yours. You either can't hear it because the plate material is too soft, or it doesn't happen and requires a lot more force because you have a standard 60% layout. All right? So that's the video. Enjoy.